1. Let me tell you about this absolutely fascinating 1972 GMC K20 I just came across on Craigslist. This isn't your average classic pickup. We're talking about a genuine Sierra Grande that's been living the good life in Arizona, and it shows. At $27,000, you're looking at a seriously clean example of a K20, and let me tell you why I'm excited about this one. First off, it's a rust-free survivor. No frame repairs, no rust repairs, which is huge for a truck of this age. Being an Arizona truck, it's escaped the rust belt curse that claims so many of these classics. The truck's rocking an updated Vortec 350 V8. And get this, it's got 3 fuel tanks. Talk about range anxiety? Not with this beast. What really catches my attention is that it's got a manual transmission paired with 4WD. That's the combo you want in these old workhorses. The factory AC still blows ice cold, which is pretty remarkable for a 50-year-old truck. And it's got a working factory tach. Being a Sierra Grande, it came loaded with options, and the original options tag is still there to prove it. The original light olive green paint and matching cloth interior give it that perfect period-correct look. With 69,000 miles on the clock and being a factory 3/4 ton with heavy-duty springs, this truck sits nice and tall, just like it should. It's one of those rare finds that you could either enjoy as is or restore to show quality condition. It's solid enough to go either way. Look, I've seen a lot of these old GMCs, and finding one this clean, with no rust issues, and all these working features is getting harder by the day. At $27K, considering today's classic truck market and its condition, it's actually in the ballpark for what these well-preserved K20s are going for. 2. Let me tell you about this 1980 GMC Sierra 1500 I found on Craigslist. I've got to be straight with you, this one's a mixed bag, but for $8,000 it might be worth considering if you're into project trucks. This royal blue beast is running a V8 with about 158,785 miles on the clock. The seller's honest about its condition, listing it as fair, and that's probably right on the money. Let's talk about what's good first. It's got a freshly rebuilt automatic transmission. That's a big plus, a new battery, transfer case seal, and wiper motor. The truck's been lifted and sits on some meaty mud-claw tires, which definitely gives it that aggressive stance. Now, let's be real about the challenges. The interior is showing its age, seller's words, and it needs new seat belts, which is a safety concern you'd want to address pretty quickly. While they've put on a new seat cover, you're looking at an interior that needs some serious TLC. For $8,000, you're getting a classic 4x4 with some recent mechanical updates and 2 different ball hitches for towing. The clean title is definitely a plus. But let's be honest, this isn't a show truck. It's a project truck that needs some love, especially in the interior department. If you're someone who enjoys working on vehicles and wants a classic GMC with some attitude that you can gradually improve while still driving it, this might be your ticket. Just go into it knowing you'll need to invest some time, effort, and additional money to get it where you want it to be. 3. Let me tell you about this sweet 1981 Chevy C10 stepside I just spotted on Craigslist. For $17,000, we're looking at a clean example of one of the most iconic square-body trucks ever made. This short box stepside is rocking a performance 350 V8 with some serious attitude. Those dual side dump exhausts aren't just for show, they're giving this classic some proper muscle car voice. The odometer shows 17,705 miles, but let's keep it real. It's definitely rolled over at least once, which is totally normal for these old trucks. What's really catching my eye here is the attention to detail. The current owner has clearly babied this thing. We're talking engine bay details done with Q-tips and toothbrushes. Now that's dedication. They've just dropped $200 on fresh work, including a carburetor rebuild, new radiator, top plate, and a fresh interstate battery. Those 17-inch Michelin tires are practically brand new, only 25 miles on them, and they cost over $800. They're wrapped around some classic Craigslist SS mags, which perfectly match the truck's muscle car vibe. The extras are pretty sweet too. You're getting a wood bed, always a classy touch, tonneau cover, sliding rear window, trailer hitch, and what the seller describes as a mega stereo setup. The chrome work under the hood adds that extra bit of show quality flash. What I really appreciate is that the owners kept all the receipts in a folder. That's always a good sign when someone's documenting the maintenance history. The truck's got that simple, boxy style that's actually become more desirable over time, especially with the step-side bed configuration. 4. Let me tell you about this gorgeous 1965 Ford F-100 flare-side that just popped up on Craigslist. At $25,000, we're looking at something pretty special here, an original, unmolested piece of American truck history. What makes this F-100 really stand out is its originality. We're talking about the original inline-six engine still purring away under the hood, paired with that classic three-on-the-tree manual transmission. If you know, you know. That's getting increasingly rare to find these days, folks. About 8 years ago, this truck got some serious mechanical love. Complete engine refresh, new clutch, pressure plate, and throw-out bearing. The front end's been properly sorted too, with new tie rods, bushings, and bearings. What's really impressive is that it's still running its original carburetor and oil bath air cleaner. That's some serious originality right there. The short box flare-side body style is one of the most desirable configurations for these trucks. With 50,000 showing on the odometer, though it's likely rolled over, this has been treated as a Sunday driver and garage kept since its refresh. The bed's in good shape and the glass is holding up well for a truck pushing 60 years old. Now, let's be honest about a couple things. The tires, while still good, are 8-10 years old, so that might be something you'd want to address soon. But hey, you've got 2 spares, one on the side and one underneath, which is pretty cool. 5. Let me tell you about this absolutely clean 1972 Chevy C10 Cheyenne I just found on Craigslist. For $9,900, we're looking at what appears to be a really well-maintained example of these increasingly popular classic trucks. This C10's got the desirable Cheyenne trim package and is powered by a Vortec 350 V8, that's an upgrade from the original engine, paired with a turbo 350 automatic transmission, a bulletproof combination that's known for reliability. With 69,000 miles on the clock, this truck's got plenty of life left in it. The metallic blue paint really pops on this long bed model, and being garage kept has definitely helped preserve its condition. They've modernized it a bit with 20-inch Yakuza wheels and fresh rubber, plus it's got some practical upgrades like front disc brakes and a spray-in bed liner. The power steering is a nice touch that makes this classic much more enjoyable to drive daily. What's particularly impressive is that the seller claims everything works. There are no leaks, which is rare for these old trucks. And it's just had a fresh service. The body's straight, and both the interior and exterior are described as extremely clean. For just under $20,000, you're getting a classic C10 that's been thoughtfully updated while maintaining its vintage charm. These trucks have been shooting up in value lately, and finding one this clean that's ready to drive isn't easy. It's got enough modern touches to make it reliable and comfortable, while still keeping that classic truck character we all love. 6. Let me tell you about this fascinating 1977 F-150 stepside I just spotted on Craigslist. At $16,950, we're looking at a pretty special piece of Ford truck history, and I'll tell you why. First off, this isn't just any F-150, it's Marty Report verified. That's like having a birth certificate for your Ford, and comes with some really interesting history. It's a factory short box stepside, which is a rare configuration. And get this, it's wearing its original special order paint. Sure, it's got some patina and imperfections after nearly 50 years, but that just adds character. There's an interesting twist here. They think it might have been specially made for the Air Force, which would be pretty cool if confirmed. Under the hood, there's either a 351 mm or 400 mm V8. They're not entirely sure which. But it's been upgraded with an aluminum intake, 4-barrel carb, Jacobs ignition module, long tube headers, and a performance cam. The seller says it runs great and sounds even better. Let's be honest about the condition. There is some rust on the passenger rocker panel and door area that'll need attention, and there are a couple of minor bubbles elsewhere. But for a 70s truck found in Montana, the body is remarkably solid overall, and the floors are in great shape. The interior's been freshened up with new seat upholstery and carpet, though the door panels show their age with some cracking. All the gauges work. That's rare. But the radio isn't wired up. It's sitting on factory Ford 5-slot mag wheels with brand new 30 Cruise 11.50 MT tires, and it's got power steering and front disc brakes. Nice options for a 70s truck. 7. Let me tell you about this 1985 Ford Bronco 2 I found on Craigslist, and I'm going to keep it real with you. At $8,500, we're looking at an honest old-school 4x4 that's both charming and challenging. Let's start with what we're working with. It's got the 2.8L V6 carbureted engine paired with a manual transmission and 4x4 capability. The odometer's showing 240,000 miles, which is, well, a lot of miles. But here's the thing. The current owner has actually put in some serious work to keep it running. They've replaced quite a few important bits. New fuel lines, fuel pump, rear brakes, radiator with an electric fan upgrade, muffler, valve gaskets, and fresh alternator and power steering belts. That's a decent amount of mechanical investment right there. Now let's be completely honest about the challenges. There's still a power steering pump leak that needs addressing, and as the seller straight up admits, it's a 39-year-old vehicle, so please don't expect there to be no issues. I really appreciate that kind of honesty. The seller started this as a project but couldn't see it through to completion. That's pretty common with these old SUVs. They can be time and money pits if you're not careful. But for someone who loves these early Bronco 2s, and they do have a growing following, this could be a fun weekend warrior. For $8,500, you're getting a classic small SUV that's had some important mechanical work done, but still needs some TLC. These Bronco 2s are getting harder to find, especially with the manual transmission and 4x4 combo. Just go into it knowing you'll probably need to keep a wrench handy, and don't mind getting your hands dirty occasionally. 8. Let me tell you about this 1972 GMC C10 on Craigslist, but I've got to be honest. The seller's description is pretty thin on details for a $25,000 asking price. While they claim it's in excellent condition, they openly admit they're not a car guy and can't answer detailed questions about the truck. What we do know is that it's a V8-powered C10 with an automatic transmission and 4WD, painted in green with 10,000 showing on the odometer, though with a truck this age, it's likely rolled over. The seller believes it's priced below market for its condition and suggests it's an investment piece that will appreciate. Here's where I need to be straight with you. While the truck might be beautiful as claimed, we're missing a lot of crucial information here. We don't know about any restoration work, mechanical updates, or maintenance history. For $25K, you typically want to know details about the engine condition, transmission health, any rust issues, interior condition, and whether any modifications have been made. The seller seems sincere, mentioning they're only selling because they're expecting a child and need something more family-friendly. However, if you're interested in this truck, you'll definitely want to see it in person and maybe bring along someone who knows these classic GMCs well. 9. Let me tell you about this 1975 Chevy C10 I just found on Craigslist, and I've got to keep it real with you. At $3,750, we're looking at about as basic a classic truck as you can get, but that might not be a bad thing. This is a no-frills workhorse. We're talking about the straight-six engine, not the more common V8, paired with a manual transmission, and it's a two-wheel drive model. The odometer shows 79,341 miles, though with these old trucks, it's anyone's guess if that's original. The seller's description is incredibly brief, basically just telling us it runs and drives well. That's not giving us much to go on. But at this price point, we're likely looking at a basic driver quality truck that needs some TLC. For $3,750, you're getting an entry-level classic truck that could either serve as a basic work truck or be a good starting point for a project. These old C10s are pretty simple to work on, and parts are readily available. The straight-six engines are known for their reliability, even if they're not powerhouses. Just remember, at this price, you should expect to find some issues that need addressing. That's just the reality of 45-plus-year-old trucks. But if you're looking for an affordable way to get into classic truck ownership, this might be worth checking out. 10. Let me tell you about this interesting 1976 Chevy Scottsdale I just spotted on Craigslist. For $6,500, we're looking at something pretty special here, and I'll tell you why. First off, this is a 3+3 model. That's the crew cab configuration, and it's packing some serious muscle with a 454 big block V8 paired to the bulletproof turbo 400 transmission. What makes this truck particularly interesting is its history. It's showing just 23,000 original miles, which the seller explains is because it spent most of its life wearing a cab-over camper and wasn't used much. The yellow paint gives it that classic 70s vibe, and being a 2WD model means you're not dealing with any aging 4x4 components. The seller claims it has no issues and is very reliable, which makes sense given the low mileage and the fact that these powertrains are known for their durability. For $6,500, you're getting a lot of truck here. The crew cab configuration is relatively rare for these, and finding one with the big block 454 and such low miles is even rarer. These old Scottsdales are getting harder to find, especially in original, low-mileage condition. This could be a great foundation for a restoration project, or just enjoy it as is. A piece of 70s Chevy truck history that survived remarkably well thanks to its camper-hauling past. The price seems pretty reasonable considering what you're getting, especially in today's classic truck market. 11. Let me tell you about this 1977 Chevy K10 on Craigslist, but I've got to be straight with you. The seller's description is incredibly sparse for a $22,500 asking price. Let's break down what we do know. This K10's running a 350 V8 paired with a 4-speed manual transmission. That's a solid classic combination. It's been modified with a Pro Comp lift kit and is sitting on some massive 24/14 wheels, which definitely gives it presence. The seller says it runs great, and it's wearing what appears to be a green paint job. But here's where we need to be cautious. There's no mileage information because the odometer is broken, and the description is lacking crucial details about the truck's condition, history, or any recent maintenance. For $22,500, you typically want to know a lot more about what you're buying. While these K10s are desirable trucks and values have been climbing, this price point would usually come with a much more detailed description of the truck's condition and modifications. The big wheels and lift kit suggest it's been built more for show than original restoration, which isn't necessarily bad, but it's something to consider. If you're interested in this truck, you definitely want to see it in person and get a lot more information about its mechanical condition, any rust issues, and its maintenance history. These are great trucks when properly maintained, but at this price point, you need to know exactly what you're getting into. 12. Let me tell you about this awesome 1970 Ford Bronco I just found on Craigslist. At $29,950, we're looking at a properly built early Bronco that's been set up for real off-road use, not just show. This rig is rocking a 302 V8 that the seller says runs excellently, paired with a 3-speed manual transmission with floor shift. But what really catches my attention are the serious upgrades underneath. We're talking about 4.56 geared Detroit lockers. That's serious off-road hardware, an upgraded Dana 44 front axle, and a heavy-duty 9-inch rear. These aren't cheap modifications, and they're exactly what you want for real trail capability. The grabber lime paint makes it stand out, but let's be honest here. The seller's up front that it's not cosmetically perfect, and that's actually refreshing. This isn't a trailer queen. It's a Bronco that's been used as intended and has the battle scars to prove it. They've added some practical upgrades like disc brakes and power steering, which make it much more manageable both on and off-road. With 68,528 miles showing, though it's rolled over at least once, this Bronco has seen some adventures, and it's ready for more. The seller's honesty about it being trail-proven and actively used recreationally tells you this isn't just another pretty face. It's a working off-road vehicle. For just under $30K, you're getting an early Bronco with serious mechanical upgrades and no pretenses about being perfect. These first-gen Broncos have skyrocketed in value lately, especially ones with proper mechanical builds like this. 13. Let me tell you about this 1975 Ford F-350 I found on Craigslist, and I'm going to keep it real with you. At $7,500, we're looking at a work in progress that needs some attention, but it's got potential. This big boy is powered by a 390 V8, which is a solid engine choice for these heavy-duty trucks. The odometer shows 80,000 miles, and while the engine runs great according to the seller, there's a bit of a red flag here. It needs either a new carburetor or tune-up timing work. That's something you'll want to factor into your budget. The seller has done some cosmetic updates: new seat cover, carpet kit, door rubber, windshield, and a rear sliding window. They've also added some glass pack mufflers for that classic muscle truck sound, and various trim pieces have been powder-coated or painted matte black. But let's be honest here. When the seller says it's ready to be finished in a couple of days by the new owner, that usually means there's still work to be done. The carburetor timing issue needs to be sorted out for sure, and there might be other surprises waiting. For $7,500, you're getting a running and driving classic F-350 that's had some refreshing done but still needs some mechanical attention. These old Ford trucks are pretty straightforward to work on, and parts are generally available. 14. Let me tell you about this 1970 Chevy C10 I just spotted on Craigslist. At $30,000, we're looking at a pretty special example, and I'll tell you why. This is a one-owner Arizona truck, which is already a huge plus. Those desert trucks typically avoid the rust issues that plague vehicles from other regions. It's a short bed model, the more desirable configuration. And what makes it particularly interesting is that it still has its original 250 CI straight-six engine with a 3-speed manual transmission on the floor. Now, while most people might expect a V8 in a 30K classic truck, there's something really special about finding one with its original straight-six still in place. These engines were known for their reliability and smooth operation, even if they weren't powerhouses. With 98,337 original miles, it's clearly been well maintained over the years. The truck's been treated to a Marone paint job and new interior, and it's got some nice features like power steering, chrome wheels, and even a 10-gallon reserve tank on the side. The original AM/FM Chevrolet radio is still in place, which is a nice touch for originality. For $30K, you're paying a premium, but you're getting a documented one-owner truck from a dry climate with its original drivetrain intact. These C10s have seen their values climb significantly in recent years, especially well-preserved examples. 15. Let me tell you about this 1979 Chevy C10 Bonanza I found on Craigslist. At $7,500, we're looking at an interesting project that's got some real potential, and I'll break down why. First off, this is a Bonanza package truck, which is a relatively rare option from GM. It's running a rebuilt 350 V8, paired with a rebuilt TH350 automatic transmission. That's a solid, reliable combination. The seller emphasizes that it's rust-free, which is a big deal for these square bodies as they're often rust buckets by now. Now let's be honest about the challenges. It's got the typical square body bent hood, pretty common on these, but the seller's including a good replacement hood. The bedside trim pieces are missing, though they're available through LMC Truck. The interior needs a complete refresh, which isn't cheap these days. On the positive side, it's got some recent work done. New brakes, suspension, and exhaust. Being a power window and AC truck from the factory adds some value. The seller's also throwing in a C-notch and some other parts with the deal. For $7,500, you're getting a solid foundation with some desirable features and recent mechanical work. The Bonanza package makes it more interesting than your average C10, and having a rust-free body is huge. Yes, it needs work, particularly in the interior, and some trim pieces, but these trucks are pretty straightforward to work on. 16. Let me tell you about this 1972 Chevy K10 I found on Craigslist. At $29,000, we're looking at a truck that's had some serious money poured into it, and I'll break down what we know. This is a 4x4 half-ton running a big block V8, though the seller doesn't specify which one, paired with an automatic transmission. The odometer shows 1,000 miles, which is likely since a rebuild or restoration. The seller claims over $30K invested, and they're breaking down some of the recent work. They've just dropped $8K on new floor rockers and cab mounts, which is actually a good sign. These are crucial structural repairs that many people skip. The truck's also got a fresh interior, new tires, a 2-inch lift kit, and new exhaust system. However, I've got to be honest here. The seller's description is pretty brief for a $29K truck. While they mention a lot more has been done, we're missing important details about the engine condition, transmission health, transfer case status, and any other mechanical updates or maintenance. For $29,000, you're looking at a K10 that's had significant recent investment in both structural integrity and appearance upgrades. These early 70s Chevy trucks have seen their values climbing steadily, especially 4x4 models with big block engines. 17. Let me tell you about this 1978 Chevy C10 Custom Deluxe on Craigslist. But I've got to be really straight with you here. The seller's description is alarmingly thin for a $16,000 asking price. Literally, all we know is that it's a custom deluxe model showing 33,642 miles, likely rolled over. It's painted blue, has an automatic transmission, and in the seller's words, it runs. That's not giving us much to work with at all. For $16,000, you'd typically expect a whole lot more information about the truck's condition, mechanical status, any restoration work, modifications, or at least some maintenance history. The "sold as is" statement combined with such a brief description should raise some caution flags. While these late 70s C10s are desirable trucks and values have been climbing, this price point would usually come with a much more detailed description of what you're buying. The custom deluxe trim was nice for its time, but without knowing the truck's condition or history, it's hard to justify the asking price based on the information provided. 18. Let me tell you about this 1978 Ford F-150 I found on Craigslist. At $25,000, we're looking at what appears to be a well-preserved piece of Ford truck history. But let's break down what we know. This is a 2-owner truck with a pretty clear history. The first owner had it for 35 years, then it stayed in the family for another 10 years. That kind of long-term ownership often means better maintenance and care. With 114,000 miles on the clock, it's been used but not abused. One cool feature is the factory dealer-installed cargo cover that's still in great shape. That's pretty rare to find these days. The truck's got the convenience of dual fuel tanks, which was a popular option back then for extended range. However, I've got to be honest. While the seller claims the truck retains all its originality and runs and drives effortless, the description is pretty light on specific details for a $25K asking price. We don't know which V8 engine it has, what condition the interior is in, or any maintenance history. For $25,000, you're paying a premium for what appears to be a well-preserved original F-150 with known history. These late 70s Fords are gaining value, especially original, well-maintained examples. 19. Let me tell you about this seriously cool 1984 GMC Sierra 1500 High Sierra I found on Craigslist. At $15,750, we're looking at a square body that's had some serious upgrades, and I'll break down why this one's special. Under the hood, this truck's running a freshly built 5.3L V8, likely an LS swap. With a truck Norris cam and upgraded springs, that's a solid combination for both power and reliability. The transmission is a completely rebuilt 4L60E with a 2600 stall converter, upgraded clutches, planetary gears, and a Transgo shift kit. That's a serious investment in the drivetrain alone. The list of new parts is impressive. They've replaced pretty much everything that matters: bearings, rings, seals, sensors, oil pump, alternator, power steering pump, water pump, timing chain, battery, and even a new radiator with fans. The truck's been lowered with a 4.56 lowering kit, including spindles, shocks, and a C-notch for proper clearance. They've modernized it with 20x9 wheels and fresh rubber, and added a 3-dual stainless exhaust system. The AC works, always a plus in these older trucks, and they've even updated the window regulators with new motors. What's particularly appealing is that this isn't just a show truck. It's built to be driven and enjoyed. The seller says it runs and drives amazingly with excellent power, which isn't surprising given the mechanical upgrades. 20. Let me tell you about this 1977 Chevy C10 Scottsdale I found on Craigslist. At $14,000, we're looking at what appears to be a really well-sorted Arizona truck with some serious recent work done. First off, being an Arizona truck is huge. These trucks often suffer from rust in other regions, but desert trucks typically stay clean. This one's a two-owner vehicle that was bought new in Mesa, and the seller claims the body is in amazing condition with straight panels and a dent-free bed. It's still wearing its original paint and trim, which is increasingly rare for these trucks. The mechanical work is extensive. The original 350 engine has been rebuilt with less than 100 miles on it, paired with a rebuilt TH350 transmission. They've basically renewed everything. New drive shaft, shocks, glass, rubber seals, interior parts, and the entire fuel system including the tank. The braking system is all new with fresh rotors, hubs, booster, and master cylinder. They've even addressed the AC system with a new compressor and lines, though it needs to be charged, plus a new heater core. With 22,000 showing on the odometer, likely rolled over, this truck has been thoroughly gone through with over 10 kilos in documented receipts. For $14,000, you're getting a solid, original paint Arizona truck that's had a comprehensive mechanical restoration. The price seems pretty fair considering the amount of work done and the desirable Scottsdale trim level.